What's up, Steelers Nation? We're back again with another major update from the Black and Gold, because this team is working day and night to fine-tune the roster and bring Pittsburgh back to championship glory. The front office knows how close this squad is to truly contending, and they're leaving no stone unturned. If you want to stay in the loop with every twist and turn this offseason, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps more Steelers fans find the channel and keeps us pushing content every day. All right, now let's dive into what could be the most drawn-out, dramatic, and impactful quarterback saga in the AFC North this summer. The Aaron Rodgers timeline, Mason Rudolph fallback plan, and some fiery reactions to the Kirk Cousins rumors. So here's where we stand, Steelers fans. For weeks now, all eyes have been on one name, Aaron Rodgers. The four-time MVP has been linked to Pittsburgh since February. And while the speculation has gone quiet at times, new insider info is heating things back up. On Tuesday morning, Adam Schefter dropped some gold on ESPN's Get Up. When asked about the Rodgers situation, he didn't mince words. According to Schefter, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are absolutely willing to wait until the very last second, literally September 7th, the day of Week 1 against the New York Jets, before making a final call. That's right. Despite all the OTA sessions, all the off-season planning, the Steelers are keeping that QB1 spot open in case Rodgers decides to roll into town. Why? Because Tomlin knows what Rodgers brings. As Schefter put it, they're willing to wait until September 7 for Rodgers. That says everything. But here's the twist. Organized team activities started this week. The team's final OTA wraps up on June 5th, and mandatory minicamp runs from June 10th to June 12th. Rodgers isn't under contract, so he's not required to show up, but still, Schefter believes a decision is coming within the next 2 weeks. Everybody thinks Rodgers will decide to play for Pittsburgh in 2025, Schefter added on another ESPN segment. That's not just hope. That's a strong read from one of the best in the business. Now, let's talk about power. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio chimed in with a take that should grab your attention. According to Florio, the Steelers aren't setting any hard deadlines for Rodgers. Why? Because they can't. Florio said it straight. The Steelers are stuck. They've made their deal. They've surrendered the power to Rodgers. And they've done it happily. Honestly, he's not wrong. This team hasn't made any aggressive moves toward another veteran quarterback. They haven't tried to trade for Kirk Cousins. They haven't pushed hard for a new QB1. That tells us something. They're betting that Rodgers will come. And let's be real, Rodgers has skipped mandatory minicamp before. In fact, some insiders believe that's all this is. He's just avoiding the off-season grind and will report late like he did with the Jets. So, Steelers Nation, patience might be key here. But what if Rodgers doesn't show? Well, that's where Mason Rudolph enters the picture. And reports have surfaced that the team would be fine with Rudolph starting the season under center. Now that phrase, fine with, can mean a lot of things. It doesn't scream confidence, but it does suggest that Tomlin and the staff believe they can survive with Mason at QB1 if Rodgers pulls the plug. Let's not forget, Rudolph finished strong last season. He knows the system, the locker room respects him, and while he's not a long-term solution, he's not going to sink the ship either. And just when you think the QB chatter couldn't get any louder, here comes Kirk Cousins. Yes, the same Kirk. Cousins, who signed a 4-year, $180 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons. But after just 11 weeks, Atlanta benched him for rookie Michael Penix Jr., who they drafted with the 8th overall pick. Cousins finished with decent numbers, 3,508 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 66.9% completion, but 16 interceptions? That was a deal-breaker for Atlanta. So naturally, the Steelers were floated as a possible trade destination. But not everyone's on board. Enter Ryan Clark, former Steelers safety and now ESPN analyst. On NFL on ESPN, Clark shut down the Cousins idea completely with a savage mic drop moment. Quoting Allen Iverson, he said bringing Cousins in wouldn't change anything. Practice? We talking about practice? That's how little he believes. Cousins would shift the Steelers' QB outlook. According to Clark, Cousins isn't the answer. Period. And honestly, it's hard to disagree. Even if Cousins does come in and hold down the fort, he's not a long-term fix. He's 36, and Pittsburgh needs more than just a Band-Aid at quarterback. We're talking about one of the most dominant defenders in football, T.J. Watt, the heart and soul of the Steelers' defense, the guy who has terrorized quarterbacks, racked up sacks, and brought energy to this team like few players have in franchise history. But here's the thing. Watt is entering the final year of his contract, and there's been radio silence when it comes to extension talks. That's right. No progress, no smoke, and no signs that the Steelers and Watt's camp are close to a new deal. And while Alex Highsmith recently tried to ease fans' concerns by saying Watt loves being in Pittsburgh, that doesn't change the fact that nothing official is happening. Yet. Enter Ben Solak from ESPN. He dropped a detailed breakdown this week, and honestly, it raises some big questions. Solak wrote, "I'm not ringing any alarm bells, but I find it interesting that T.J. Watt is in the final year of his deal with pretty much no smoke about an upcoming extension." He went further, calling it doubly interesting because Watt is turning 31 in October, and triply interesting because not only is Watt coming off one of his less dominant seasons, but he's never won a playoff game in a Steelers uniform. Let that sink in for a second. One of the most decorated defenders of the last decade could potentially walk away after this season if a new deal isn't reached. That's not something Steelers fans, or the front office, can afford to brush aside. Now let's talk performance. Yes, 2022 was a rough year injury-wise. Watt only played in 10 games, but in 2023, he bounced back with 11.5 sacks in 17 games. Still, by his standards, it wasn't his most dominant season, and in that wild-card loss to the Ravens, Watt was a non-factor. He appeared to injure his wrist or arm early in the game and never really made his presence felt. That loss stung, not just for the fans, but likely for Watt himself. So now the question becomes, what does TJ want? Does he want one more massive payday to finish his career in Pittsburgh? Is he frustrated with the direction of the team, or is he waiting to see if the front office can finally fix the quarterback situation before he commits long-term? Here's where it gets even more interesting. On the very same day Solak dropped his article, Adam Schefter went on ESPN and said flat out, "Everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers will be Pittsburgh's starting quarterback in 2025. So if the Steelers are truly bringing in Rodgers, a win-now quarterback, you'd assume they're also trying to keep their most impactful defensive player happy and locked in, right? A Rodgers signing followed by a Watt trade would make no sense. That's not how you build a Super Bowl team. But it is possible that Watt's camp wants some clarity before minicamp starts in June 10th, and that leads us to this. Could T.J. Watt skip mandatory minicamp if a deal isn't done? Solak seems to think there's a chance, and honestly, no one would blame him. Playing out a contract year without long-term security is a risky move for a guy who's already dealt with injuries. So here's where it all stands. Steelers Nation. The team is all in on Aaron Rodgers, and they're willing to wait as long as it takes, maybe even until week 1. If Rodgers says no, Mason Rudolph is next up, and the team is at peace with that for now. And as for Kirk Cousins, don't hold your breath. The organization hasn't made a move, and Ryan Clark isn't letting that rumor gain momentum without a fight. Now it's time to turn it over to you. What do you think? Should the Steelers keep waiting for Rodgers even into August or early September? Are you comfortable with Mason Rudolph as the fallback plan? And would you be open to giving Kirk Cousins a chance? Or is that a hard pass? Let us know in the comments. I'll be replying and reading everything, so bring the takes. And once again, if you enjoyed the update and want more exclusive Steelers content just like this, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single video. This is Steelers country, baby. Let's ride.